What is up, guys? Thomas on the One here, and as you can probably see, I'm not in my usual location, which is my floor in my room. That's because my sister's not here, and I can use the desk in her room to film, because it's a lot more comfortable than being on the floor. So if you're watching this in hindsight, sorry. But anyway, for today, I have a rather impromptu review on the brand new, yet to be released in the UK, All Engines Go Push Along Toby. Now, you might be asking, how the hell did you manage to get your hands on this if it's not been released in the UK? Well, I made my first ever order from Totally Thomastown, which, if you don't know, is a website in Canada that sells all sorts of Thomas and Friends merchandise. And I've always heard about it. I've heard, you can get some good stuff on there. But I finally decided to bite the bullet and make an order. So I got some capsules, I got Atomica Ace, I got some Trackmaster accessories like a windmill. But the main thing I wanted was Toby, because, well, who doesn't want a Toby? He returned recently in All Engines Go. He made a starring role in an episode, and I don't keep up with the show, so I'm not sure how often he's appeared since. But he is in the show again, which is hilarious because Edward and Henry haven't even spoken, and yet Toby not only speaks but gets to be a main character in an episode. I just find that funny. But yes, so he hasn't been released in the UK yet, along with the Push Along With. The motorized versions of both of these characters have, but not the push-alongs, which is a shame, because I think the push-along Toby is pretty fantastic, just from first impressions. But without further ado, I'll just give you a little look at his All Engines Go design before I open the box. It's actually a pretty good recreation of his model appearance. Because All Engines Go was really stylized with some of the characters at first, like Thomas and Gordon. And yet Toby, I mean, he's a square. So if you got that wrong, I would be disappointed. But I mean, he looks pretty dead on to his original appearance. But anyway, without further ado, let's get this guy open. So he cost me about £15, not including postage on Totally Thomas, which of course is more than you would pay for him at, say, Smith's or The Entertainer. But for the privilege of being able to own him early, I thought it was worth it. And first impressions, wow, this guy is quite hefty in the hands. Yeah, it's weird because, like, Mattel is kind of known for squishing down their toys for Thomas and Friends. So, getting something like this now in 2024, is pretty unbelievable, to be honest. He is, thankfully, a lot better than his previous push-along model, which, if you've seen, you'd know it's overly long, the cab windows are squished down next to his face, and his cow catcher is exposed to show his wheels, which was ridiculous. Like, Mattel managed to fumble a square. But for All Engines Go, they have completely nailed his look. I mean, even for, like, a model series Toby, he gets the look down. He is very big, especially, like I was saying, for a modern-day Mattel Thomas toy. He is huge. Like, I have All Engines Go Thomas for comparison, and you can just see how much bigger Toby is. They're about the same length. If I just show here, they're about the same length. Yeah, they're if you match them coupling to coupling, they're exactly the same length. But the height difference is pretty staggering, to be honest. He's got some very nice detail on him. You can see his number 7 printed on there. His body is ridged. You can move your finger along here, and it is ridged, which is very nice. He's got separate handrails as well. They're not separately fitted, but they are part of the mold, but they are molded out, so you can run your finger along and feel it. No open cab, unfortunately, which would have been an incredible feature to have on a modern toy, but, I mean, it doesn't look terrible. It's, just one of those things. I would have preferred an open Toby, but I guess if this, for the sake of construction, and it helps to make this a sturdier toy, I get it. There's his name on the bottom. Quite small, actually, compared to Thomas. It's very small font, but it's still clear. You can still see copyright 2023, which, I mean, this guy has been out for nearly a year in some places. I mean, Thomas distribution in the UK at the minute is a bit slow. We just recently got the Wave 4 colour changes, which are Thomas Diesel and Bruno, which are very cool, but, I mean, I've seen people finding the new push-along Winston in places, which has a little figure of the Fat Controller, or Sir Topham Hatt, as they call him in All Legends Go, across the world. And for example, like I said, Whiff, he still hasn't been released over here yet. We haven't got most of the multi-packs. It's just been pretty... So, I mean, I personally think this was worth it. I mean, I'm just like, it does have some of the typical failings of Mattel toys. Like, for example, the back, while it's still molded correctly the same... Oh, actually, just going over it, you can actually feel the difference. So Toby's model... Excuse me, Toby's basis in real life, the trams on the Whiz Beach and Upwell Tramway, do have like sliding windows. If you can actually see they've made a definition on here of where like the sliding part of the window is. That's actually, did they do that on the original? They did, but not quite as well. I've just got another Toby here I'll show in a second. What was I saying? It does have some of the usual falterings, like it doesn't have a rear painted buffer beam or buffers, which is a shame, but I've become pretty accustomed to that at this point. And the front looks so pretty much perfect. Yeah, if I just grab... This isn't a standard Toby, this is my custom Railway Series Toby, but it's the same mold, so you get the point. Again, if I just put these up against each other... wow. Look at the size difference. Again, roughly the same length of body. The new one is slightly longer, but the old one is so much shorter, and I just put them front to front. There you go, look at that. Look how big this guy is. It's amazing. He doesn't have the, I'm not entirely sure what this piece is, but this pipe that goes along the top here. I think this is something to do with Toby's boiler. The new one doesn't have this, unfortunately. But it does have a separately molded bell. And that's something that Mattel has been getting really good with recently, is they have been molding all the exterior details separately instead of having them part of the body mold, and they're just having them stick up slightly. Like on the 2014 Take and Play Toby, I'm pretty sure this bell would have just been like so tall and would just part of the model of the body. Same with like Thomas, he's got separately molded whistles that are when you take this guy apart, which I absolutely will take Toby apart to see how he looks. This is a separate piece, like this whole whistle piece is separate. It's amazing how like Mattel can make fantastic Thomas toys again, and they are. It's just they waited to kill the show to do it. But anyway, that's nothing to do with Toby. It's just saying how well this guy looks, because I mean, just from here, sorry, it keeps rolling. Just from here, you can see how much care they've actually put into this guy. I mean, the color as well is a slightly lighter brown than they've done before. Again, this isn't a good example because I've repainted it, but the original like Toby toys were a much darker brown than this. In fact, actually looking at the box, just grab the box again. He does have two-tone brown in the show and not on the toy, but to be honest, I kind of prefer the way he looks just plain, just as the toy. I'm fine with it looking like this, but like you can see how much darker that brown is compared to this brown. It is interesting though. Unfortunately, they haven't painted his lamp in. As you can see again on the toy, on the model it should be white with yellow in the middle, and they haven't done that on the toy. But I mean, I'm not overly bothered, to be honest, because it doesn't ruin the look. It's still there. You can paint it if you want to, and it's still there. I haven't even mentioned the face yet. The face is pretty good. It's very, let me just bring the box back. It's very close to, excuse me, to his model in the show. The nose is a slightly different shape, but then Toby's always had a funny shaped nose. And again, he carries on the tradition of having nostrils. He's one of the only Thomas characters that actually has nostrils. Why that's a defining feature for Toby, I don't know. But it's quite funny. But yeah, they captured it fairly well. I think he's got the brown eyes, which is nice. They're very thin iris, but you can see the brown in the eyes. And yeah, they've captured it pretty damn well, in my opinion. If I just bring Thomas back again. Yeah, they captured it pretty damn well. So, of course, this guy isn't released in the UK yet, but if you want to get him on Totally Thomas Town, I think they do still have a few left in stock at the minute, and I'm sure these are released in Canada in shops, so they probably will restock them. He was £15 for me, but when Smiths and Entertainer eventually release this guy, it will probably be more like £8, I think. And honestly, I think it's worth it. Completely worth it. I have nothing, like, overly bad to say about this guy. The only things I don't like are the typical, unpainted rear buffers and unpainted lamp. But everything else is molded fantastic. This, honestly, and I mean this without any hyperbole, this might be the best diecast Toby toy ever made. Just looking at this guy, when I think of Toby, I'm now going to think of this toy. Because it just captures everything that Toby is so well, even though it's from the cartoony All Engines Go reboot that has nothing to do with the original models or the original books. This guy captures Toby fantastically. So I highly recommend this toy. If you can find him, definitely pick him up. I would give this guy a 9 out of 10, to be honest. He would honestly probably get a 10 if he did have these painted details like the buffers and the lamp. And of course, the open cab would have been brilliant, but that's more a me thing. It doesn't ruin the look of the model at all. So yeah, just as a model itself, I absolutely recommend picking this guy up. 9 out of 10. Not bad for an old garden shed, eh? Anyway, so yeah, if you find this guy, definitely pick him up. That's about all I have to say, really. Thank you very much for watching.